Let's be honest about something most people won't admit. It's not big problems that drain you, it's people. A comment, a tone. Something small, and suddenly your mood is gone. They move on with their day. You don't. You replay it. You feel bothered longer than you want to, and later you're annoyed at yourself for even caring. And here's where it gets uncomfortable. This keeps happening for a reason. Not because you're weak, not because you're too sensitive. There's a pattern behind why certain people get under your skin, and why reacting feels automatic. Islam doesn't approach this the way most people do. It doesn't start by telling you to calm down or be patient. It starts somewhere else entirely. If you understand that starting point, reacting will stop feeling necessary. Let's begin. The anger isn't the problem, the reaction is. You know what's strange? The moment you react, the other person is already free. They said what they said, they moved on. They might even feel satisfied. You're the one still carrying it. That's how you know anger itself isn't the real issue, because anger passes quickly. What doesn't pass is what you do with it. That sharp reply you didn't send. That message you rewrote 3 times. That scene you replayed in your head all night. And here's the part we don't like admitting. The reaction never actually protects you, it just convinces you that it did. That's why the Prophet ﷺ didn't describe strength as overpowering someone else. He described it as holding yourself right when anger shows up, because that's the moment Shaytan waits for. Not to make you immoral, just impatient, just quick enough that you act before thinking, just fast enough that you hand over control. And once you react, the damage is already done. Not to them, to you. Your calm, your dignity, your position. So the goal was never to kill anger. The goal was to stop letting it speak for you. Why certain people get under your skin more than others. Have you noticed it's never everyone? 10 people can say the same thing and you won't care. But one person says it and it sticks. It replays, it irritates. It lingers longer than it should. That's not random. Because anger doesn't react to words, it reacts to meaning. Someone touches a place you're already sensitive about. Respect, effort, being taken seriously, being treated fairly, and the moment that nerve is touched, your guard goes up. This is where Shaytan does his quiet work. He doesn't create new feelings. He presses existing ones. He reminds you of every time you felt overlooked. Every time you swallowed something you shouldn't have. Every time you told yourself, I'll let it go, but didn't. So when that person speaks, it's never just about this moment. It's about a whole backlog you never emptied. That's why the Quran describes Shaytan as someone who whispers, not shouts. He connects moments. He layers meaning. He makes one sentence feel like a personal attack. And if you don't notice that pattern, you'll think the problem is the person. But the real danger isn't that they spoke, it's that your reaction is carrying more history than you realize. Once you see that, you stop reacting to the moment and start dealing with what it's touching. And that alone weakens its grip. Silence isn't weakness, it's control. Think about the moments you regret the most. They're rarely planned. They happen fast. A reply sent too quickly. A sentence said with the wrong tone, an explanation you didn't owe anyone. And the strange thing is, the anger itself wasn't that strong. It was the urgency, that feeling of, I need to respond now, or I'll lose something. Respect, position, the upper hand, so you speak. And the moment you do, you feel it. Not relief, but exposure. This is why the Prophet ﷺ gave such a simple instruction. If one of you becomes angry, let him remain silent. Not walk away forever. Not suppress the feeling. Just don't speak yet. Because speech locks the emotion into reality. Silence lets it pass without becoming damage. Most conflicts don't escalate because of what was said first. They escalate because of what was said next. Silence interrupts that chain. And in real life, this looks very ordinary. You don't reply immediately. You don't correct every misunderstanding. You don't explain yourself to someone who's already decided how they see you. Not because you're afraid, but because you're not desperate to be understood in every moment. That kind of restraint doesn't make you invisible. It makes you unpredictable. And people don't toy with someone who doesn't react on command. Anger feels powerful. That's why it's addictive. Here's something we rarely admit. Anger doesn't just feel bad. Sometimes it feels good. For a moment, you feel sharp, clear, justified. You finally feel in control of the situation. That's why the same people get angry again and again. Not because they're unaware, but because anger gives them a temporary sense of power, especially when you feel ignored, undervalued, talked over. Anger becomes the fastest way to feel significant again. And this is where Islam is very precise. The Prophet ﷺ didn't warn us about anger because it's emotional. He warned about it because it lies. It promises strength, but it only gives impulse. It promises respect, but it often costs dignity. That's why he said anger comes from Shayṭān, because Shayṭān doesn't push you toward weakness. He pushes you toward false strength, the kind that burns fast and leaves you exposed afterward. Once you see that, anger stops feeling heroic, it starts feeling predictable. And anything predictable can be controlled. When you stop reacting, your life quietly reorganizes. There's something subtle that happens when you stop reacting, and most people don't notice it at first. Your life gets quieter, not empty. Quieter, fewer unnecessary arguments, fewer explanations you didn't owe, fewer moments where you go home replaying conversations in your head. And it's not because people suddenly became better. It's because you stop feeding certain dynamics. Some people only stay powerful as long as you react. They poke, they test, they provoke just enough to feel important. When that reaction disappears, something shifts. Not dramatically, just practically. They speak differently, or less, or not at all. And here's the part that matters. Islam never told us to win every exchange. It taught us to protect our inner state. The Prophet ﷺ said that a believer is not someone who curses, insults, or explodes. Not because those things are loud, but because they leak control. When you stop reacting, you don't become invisible. You become harder to manipulate. Your energy stops being public property. Your mood stops being negotiable. Your peace stops being something others can casually disturb. And slowly, without announcing it, your life begins to arrange itself around calm instead of chaos. Not because you demanded respect, but because you stopped giving access to your reactions. If there's one thing this video was never trying to teach you, it's how to live a life where nothing ever bothers you. Islam doesn't promise that. People will still speak out of turn, disrespect will still exist, unfairness won't disappear. What Islam actually offers is something deeper. A way to live where those things don't enter you. Because the real problem was never anger itself. It was how easily our inner state was being handed over. Every reaction gave something away. Time, energy, dignity. And slowly, without noticing, we started living at the mercy of other people's words and moods. What the Prophet ﷺ taught wasn't suppression. And it wasn't silence for the sake of fear. It was mastery. The kind where you still feel, but you decide when to act. The kind where anger shows up, but it doesn't get the keys. And once that changes, something settles inside. Not because life gets softer, but because you stop leaking yourself everywhere. So if today you're trying, pausing more than reacting, choosing restraint over impulse, protecting your inner state instead of defending every moment, that's not weakness. That's growth taking shape quietly. If this reached you in a moment you needed it, leave a simple, Ya Allah, steady my heart and my reactions in the comments. You never know who might say Ameen with you. Until then, walk with restraint, respond with intention, and don't rush what calm is slowly building inside you. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.